Meanwhile, there's a new threat from China. Chinese warships in the Pacific have caused an alarm. They're troubling commercial flights. How? By interfering with their communication radios. Let me explain. A few days ago, pilots from Qantas Airlines reported something unusual. Qantas is an Australian airline. Its pilots said that there was radio interference. This was about their aircraft's VHF system. What is VHF? It stands for Very High Frequency. It's a communication system on a plane. It is widely used to maintain contact with the aircraft. Now, the pilots reported interference in their system, and that wasn't the only problem. The GPS systems were also jammed. So Qantas was forced to issue a warning. It sent out a message to all its pilots. I have a copy with me. This is what it says. Qantas Group aircraft have experienced interference on VHF from stations purporting to represent the Chinese military in the Western Pacific and South China Sea. Group aircraft have experienced GPS jamming suspected to originate from warships operating off the northwest shelf of Australia. This is the assessment from Qantas. It confirms the role of Chinese warships. The airline has asked its pilots to report any such incidents. They must inform the air traffic control. And this is problematic, not just for Qantas, but for all airlines. Chinese warships troubling civilian flights is a scary prospect, and Qantas is not the only one to raise this alarm. Earlier this month, another warning was issued. This one came from the International Federation of Airline Pilots Association. This is an industry body. It represents more than 100,000 pilots. 100,000 pilots in nearly 100 countries. This association raised concerns about Chinese interference, and their assessment is far more troubling. This came out earlier this month. It's based on reports from various airlines. Apparently, pilots are being called over the radio. And who is on the other side? Someone on a military warship. The statement does not name a country. It says these are quote-unquote military warships in the Pacific region. And these warships have been reaching out to pilots, asking them to avoid the airspace over the warship. Let me quote from that statement. In some cases, the flights were provided vectors to avoid the airspace over the warship. We have reason to believe there may be interferences to global navigation satellite system and radar altimeter as well. And where are these reports coming from? 3 specific regions have been mentioned: the South China Sea, the Philippine Sea, and the Indian Ocean on the eastern side. The Pilots Association issued some recommendations too. They've asked pilots to not respond to these warships and to file safety reports about any interference. Thankfully, there has been no mishap so far, but there's no guarantee. What happens if a pilot loses their GPS mid-air? What happens if they're unable to communicate? The consequences could be serious and dangerous. But for now, Qantas has played down the risk. It says so far there are no safety concerns and that the pilots can quote-unquote fly through radio interference. But experts do not agree. They say radio interference is a nuisance. But the GPS jamming is a serious problem, and both activities could be politically motivated. China has not responded so far. Top airlines with experienced pilots are usually trained to handle such situations. But these warnings are a wake-up call for airlines and for aviation regulators. There is a new threat from China, and they need to be prepared.